We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
And I'm Lakeisha Hines.
And we're here for another great morning. This is the Couples Academy Show where we come and give you 30 minutes of power. And we do it by connecting people all over the world. So wherever you may be dialing in from, you may be in the Ukraine right now. We're praying for you. You may be in Russia. We're praying for you too, because there's a lot of challenges happening all over the world. And we want to let you know that we're here with you. We actually have some people who tune in from Romania, and a lot of the Ukrainians are escaping to get to Romania. So we're praying for the safety of those people. But wherever you are, we just want to let you know that we're with you, and we want to know where you're dialing in from. So let us know. Also, we want you to share. That's your opportunity to let the world know that you're in support of a message of marital restoration. All right, listen, guys, we're going to delve into a topic today. We're talking about the title, It's Not Your Problem. It's Not My Problem. Did I do that wrong? Yeah. And I blame you, Lakeisha. It's not my problem. It's your problem. Have
right.
You
and see, I'm blaming you.
No. This is. So if you're reading this and you're in, it's because you're committed to the show. But listen, I'm in a relationship with somebody. I do something that hurts them. They're in a deep level of pain, a bad emotional space. And every time I see them, I'm like, would you get it together? Would you just figure it out? Like it's not my problem. It's your problem. I'm good. It's your problem. And the lack of sensitivity and compassion and empathy for what their spouse is going through when they were the one that caused it in the first place is horrendous. Wouldn't you say, Lakeisha?
Absolutely, man. You can actually look at it as a form of abuse in some ways, because not being sensitive to the needs of your spouse intentionally is a form of emotional abuse. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we want to do is talk about that today, and probably we're going to have a frank conversation of what the unfaithful partner or whoever is responsible for the betrayal, what they need to do to really course correct and turn some things around. Listen, but before we get started, I just want to make a couple quick announcements, as we do every time we begin the show. We have the Last Chance Weekend coming up March 11th through the 13th. Also, you can now register for Unearthed and the FOUNDRY program. There's a lot that we're offering you in 2022 because we want you to experience a quantum leap in your marriage. And it can happen when you do the necessary work to get to a better place. But let's talk about this. So, Lakeisha, you've been counseling for a number of years. I've been counseling for a number of years. And oftentimes when we come across couples, as we always say, there's 3 types of couples we deal with. Couple number 1, they both want this. They're both aware of what happened and they want to take the relationship to the next level. They're all in, and whatever's necessary, they're going to do it. But then you have another couple where one wants it, just one's unsure. Right. And oftentimes you would think that the one who is unsure, or the other couple, one wants it, one does not. You would think that the one who's unsure, the one who doesn't, is the betrayed spouse, because they're vacillating back and forth. Should I stay? Should I go? But interestingly enough, oftentimes it is the unfaithful one. Yes. Right. So they see the damage that they've done and they're cavalier about it. They're like, I don't know. I just haven't decided yet. Or they're definitely out. And so it's insane. Not only have they done harm to their spouse, now they're going to leave them to figure it out for themselves. And that's one of the challenges that people experience in relationships. And so oftentimes when we get requests, and even in Ask the Experts, how do I get my spouse to? Why won't my spouse this? Why does it seem as if they don't care? I'm doing it all on my own. Have you experienced that in your sessions?
Yes, absolutely. And I wanted to point out like a flip side of that too. Sometimes the unfaithful spouse, they're unsure of whether or not they want to continue because they've gotten caught up in the affair with the other person, and they don't have that made up mind yet that we talk about often. But the flip side of that is they're stuck in between guilt and shame. and they can't forgive themselves. They can't stand to look at their spouse's face and look into their eyes and see the hurt and pain that they've caused, and they just feel like it's never going to get better. Like there's nothing that I can say or do that's going to fix this or heal this, and they feel hopeless. But that's why we're here, to give you that hope and to restore that and let you know that no, this is possible, that you guys can recover from whatever it is that you've gone through. You just got to be willing to show up and do the work.
Absolutely. So let's get into some of the things that, if you're the one who created the pain, and maybe to Lakeisha's point, you're trapped in guilt and shame, and you just don't know what to do. You don't know how to show up. You know, there's a video that I think is one of our most popular videos, the 10 mistakes that the unfaithful partner makes. And oftentimes people find themselves in that space because they don't know how to show up for their spouse. But I would say one of the first things that you have to do is you have to get out of denial. Many people are in complete denial about the devastation of what has occurred. Now, if you've been following us for some time, there's a video we have in our playlist that really gives an aerial view of the devastation that has happened in Syria after war. And bombs have been dropped all over that entire city, and there's nothing but death and desolation and destruction and disease and all types of things. And that is, in essence, what it feels like when a spouse has been betrayed. It's like bombs have been dropped and you've just flown away, and they're dealing with this all by themselves. Now, some would say it's easier to die. Death would be better than having to survive through it. Because think about it. Imagine your city, bombs have been dropped. Think about what they're going through in the Ukraine. Now there's no electricity. There's no running water. There's no plumbing. There's no medical attention. There's no food. There's no anything. And you're forced to survive on your own. That level of agony and pain, the type of trauma, the mental, emotional, the physical distress that a person is in. And even though you were enjoying yourself and doing what you did and didn't think it would cause this much hurt and pain, now you see your spouse in a very, very dark place. But because the pain they're going through is emotional, you can't relate because you don't feel that pain. And so getting out of denial really allows you to see things for what they really are. And if you can't see it, you got to take off your lenses and look through the lenses of your spouse. Look from their perspective and allow them to begin to articulate. And I'm sure they're doing a great job of articulating what they're going through. And once you get unstuck with your mindset, it will allow you to begin to share some level of empathy for your spouse.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also important in getting out of denial is that we have to distinguish between taking responsibility and deflecting responsibility. So you may have a spouse that says, you need to stop being so sensitive, or you should have said something. You know, you didn't tell me, I didn't know. So they're deflecting instead of taking responsibility. You cannot stay in that place of denial. You can't use that as an excuse to justify your actions or your behavior. Like, you remember back in the day, like, you know, we heard that saying, when you know better, you do better.
Yes.
And so it's like, you know better. So you just have to make a conscious decision that you are going to get out of denial. Yes, you did this. All that hurt and pain that you see, your spouse acting a different way, their behavior has changed. They may not be eating, they may not be sleeping, or the reverse of that, they're sleeping all the time, or they're eating all the time, but you see behavioral changes. You did that. And so you can't make that be about them. It's about you and what you did.
Absolutely. And so that's why this statement, this is your problem, not mine, is problematic, because the reality is there was a problem that existed within the person who committed the act in the first place. There was a hurt, there was a pain, there was a brokenness that drove he or she to do what they did, which then created the pain in their spouse. And so even though they're the ones bleeding and agonizing in pain emotionally, and you're not, it doesn't mean that you're good. And I think that we overestimate where we really are and what level of health that we're in. And it's like, if I'm not representing these type of feelings, or if I'm not thinking in a particular way or doing a particular thing anymore, quote unquote, because it's only been 3 days, or it's only been a week, it's only been a month, you think that you're good, and you're really not good. There's a whole lot of soul work that one needs to do to get to that better place. Guys, we're talking about this is your problem, not mine, the attitude, the belief, the posture that the unfaithful partner has in the relationship. We're going to go to a quick break, but stay tuned because we're going to give you some tips to get out of that mindset to get to a better place. Stay right there.
Couples Academy is expanding its team to meet the growing demand of people in need of help around the world. So if you're a trained, licensed, or certified expert in marriage enrichment, infidelity recovery, sex therapy, life coaching, cognitive behavioral therapy, divorce mediation, financial coaching, or family therapy, contact us today.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. You're watching the Couples Academy show. We are back. I just want to acknowledge some of the family who have joined us this morning. So to Marissa, good to see you, sis. Marvin and Jackie, Miss Jewel, Walter, Shalise, Fedelina, Jessica, Debbie, and Jody, my family. Natural Beauty and Devlin and Lisa and Al Watts, Gonzalez. It's Robin's World. I like that.
I know.
Marilyn, good to see you. Kay, Cali Power Couple, Nina, Sharon, Ralph, Jackie. The list goes on and on and on. Henry, Marie, good to see you. Grandma Deb USA. Okay, thanks for joining us, Grandma. Appreciate you. Slapping Traps Radio. Good to see you guys. I hope that you're enjoying this conversation. We have a couple comments I'm going to go to before we get back to the points. Here we go. The doubt and insecurity can overtake the partner that was betrayed. I think it's harder for men to accept because of ego and pride. I will say that men do have ego and pride, but because we do this work, I think oftentimes the unfaithful partner, even if it's a woman, there's a level of insensitivity and ego and pride gets in the way as well. I think women, they can compete with men for ego and pride. So I think it's the position or the side of the offense that you're in. And I think that it gets to a place where it's just like, would you get over it? Can we move on? Are we still talking about this? Like, my God, how long do I have to deal with this? This is the woman talking.
Right.
Right? This is the woman talking. And so I think both men and women, I don't think it's gender specific, but I agree 1000% with your point that there is a whole lot of doubt and insecurity, and that takes time to overcome. Like there's a level of skepticism and I'm looking at you, with my side eye and, all types of things. And that can only be overcome through a process that we've got to go through. And you got to be committed to the process. It's not just the one who committed the act being responsible for doing all the work. Both of you have a role to play. I have another comment here. My husband is not intentional in his I'm good stance, but it's there. I haven't been his reason for a long time. So it's become habitual. How do we get to a place where I am intentionally prioritized? Yeah, that's a very good question.
Yeah, I mean, it for me, everything begins with our mindset, right? Everything begins with our mindset. So there has to be a shifting in his way of thinking. And when you're not priority, that makes me feel like there's some type of disconnect there with you and your husband. I don't know what the disconnect is. Could be mental, emotional, spiritual, could be physical, but whatever it is, there's a disconnect. So how do you get to a place where you're intentionally prioritized? One, communicate it. You definitely got to let him know that you're not feeling prioritized, and then give him action steps that will make you feel prioritized. So it starts with you being able to identify what it is that you need, and then being able to convey that to your husband, and then get his feedback. If he's gung-ho and he's ready to go and he's excited, okay, cool. But if he's not and he's hesitant, ask him why. Why is he hesitant? Why hasn't he made you his priority? And you might be surprised with what he comes back with.
Excellent point. Here's another comment. It's an even deeper pain when we both have been unfaithful. I'm finally getting counseling. I am praying for my husband. He does not think talking is needed. And that I will say is a lot of men's ego and pride. Usually in most relationships, it's the woman who's leading the way when it comes to counseling, and men really struggle with it. Something I struggle with. I think we all kind of struggle with that particular thing, but it's so necessary for you to do it. And here's the deal: because of Foundry, where men can get around other men. We were just talking about that. Matter of fact, one of the points that we were going to talk about in terms of how to get to a better place is to join a support group. And the reason why this is so important is because when you're in counseling, ego can show up, pride can show up, unwillingness to be open, honest, and transparent can show up. You become justified in your position. But when you get around other men and you hear their journeys, their experiences, their perspectives, what they're going through, and you'll see that, man, some of these guys are much further ahead in this recovery process than I, and they begin to share their mentality that got them to the place that they're in. It's just like, it's a gut check. It's like, man, maybe I'm thinking wrong about this. Maybe there is a different perspective. And oftentimes you become numb to what your spouse is saying, but receptive to what others are saying. And the way that you change this, it's not my problem, it's yours, is by being around other people who have been in the same pit and who are now out of it and can show you a way in terms of how to get to where they're at. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think also adding on to that is, sometimes I think for men, they're not accustomed to communicating and sharing their feelings. And so it's an adjustment process. Joining that support group gets them around other men who are also uncomfortable with sharing their feelings. And it's almost like they're practicing in a safe space because they're around other men who get it and understand. And that just helps them be better for you. And so I think joining a support group is awesome because you don't want to feel like you're out here by yourself, right? Nobody wants to feel like they're alone. And I think oftentimes that's what happens. I also think that's trick of the enemy too, to make you feel like nobody else understands or gets what you're going through. So when you join that support group, you're able to dispel that myth, right? And you're able to recognize the fact that there are many others who are dealing with similar issues, if not the exact same issue that you're dealing with.
Absolutely. And it does change that mindset. We have another comment. The Foundry and Unearthed is essential for healing individually. We need each other because we are better with positive interactions. I think that's absolutely correct. Thanks for sharing that. But there's a few more points we want to jump to. Where are we going next?
Where are we going next? So I think you need to become a student of infidelity. I think we need to go there next because the more you understand about infidelity itself, the more you're able to see your actions, your behaviors, and then you are able to take accountability and responsibility for what it is that you did. Also, you're able to understand the hurt and pain that the betrayed is going through. So I love how you always say, Hassani, that, you became a student of Danielle, you became a student of your wife, because the more you're able to understand about her, the easier it is for you not to make the same mistakes because you get it. Like, you understand what makes her tick. You understand what turns her off. And so then you're able to avoid a lot of those pitfalls that maybe you didn't in the past. So to me, it's the same thing with infidelity. The more you learn, the more you're able to avoid those pitfalls and repeating the same mistakes, and just having those rules of engagement and being able to set those boundaries and affair proofing your marriage. I mean, these are all of the things that we take you guys through when you sign up with us, so that you are able to get the knowledge and understanding. The Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge, right? So the more knowledge you get, the more wise you become and the less mistakes you're making. And I don't know about you, I don't like to say I'm sorry. I really, really don't. I do it because I know it's the right thing to do, but I don't enjoy it. So I am focused on doing the right thing, so I don't have to apologize. I don't want to have to come back and say I'm sorry for anything. So if I don't make a mistake, I don't have to apologize, but I will. If I do, let me be clear that I will.
And I think, in terms of learning, becoming a student of infidelity, not only do you understand at the core essence what infidelity is, what betrayal is, but you understand what led to it. You understand, the consequences and the results of it. You understand the mindset and all of the other attached behaviors that go along with it. And when you read a good book on it, it really becomes a mirror. It shows you who you are or who you've been, and then gives you a pathway out. That's why, the number one book, and I say this all the time, Not Just Friends by Shirley Glass. Phenomenal book. Study that book. If you study that book, you will change in the process. If you're willing, if you have a teachability spirit. That's the question. How teachable are you? What is your willingness to learn and your willingness to change? That's what we need to determine. Listen, guys, we're going to go to another quick break. Stay right there. We got a few more points to really zone in on the unfaithful partner, on the way they need to think and what they need to do. Stay right there. Hey guys, we're back. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Couples Academy show. We're just going through these comments. We got to hit some of these because these are some things that we need to address. Mary Jones says, my spouse has repeatedly been unfaithful for 30 plus years and still refuses counseling. Where do I go and why am I still here? Keisha, hit that.
Mary, my sister, there is a video in Couples Academy playlist. It says, it's titled, You're Going to Cheat Again Unless. And it gives you things that you need to look for that will, there's signs, right, that you should see with your spouse. Some of those signs, not in order, but a healthy dose of guilt and shame. There should be remorse. There should be a change in the mindset. Everything that we talk about most times has to do with your mindset and your mentality, because the thing is, just like a computer, the mind is a central processing unit. All the other things are just auxiliary. The keyboard, the mouse, the monitor, those are external things. They're necessary, right? They're necessary. You need them to go along with the central processing unit. But so your brain is the CPU, right? Your arms, your legs, your torso, everything else, they're essential and they're necessary. But that central processing unit, your brain is most important. Everything else takes commands, directions, everything from your brain, even your emotions, even your feelings. Everything comes from your brain. So if he does not shift his mindset and his mentality, the behavior will never change. You've been in 30 years. He's showing you. What did Maya Angelou say? When people show you who they are, believe them. He's showing you. It's been 30 years. If this is accurate, what you're saying, it's been 30 years of infidelity, refusal for counseling, no change in behavior. What are we doing?
That's a good question. And so the last part of it is, where do I go from here? Where do I go and why am I here? Yeah. So I'm going to strawberry letter this statement. Let's talk about you, because it's obvious what's going on with your husband. What lessons have you learned growing up in your household? What experiences have you had prior to your marriage? Yeah. What tolerance of pain have you endured that you would allow such behavior to continue? I use the word allow. I'm not blaming you. No, I'm not. But you're here. You have stayed here. And so the question is, why? Why are you still there? Why? Is it a financial thing? Is it because you don't believe you can do any better? Is it because it's too late at this point? You got kids? Like, what is your reason that's kept you anchored in? It's dead. This is why we need. I'm on Instagram. Oh, I'm still on. Well, guys, if you can see when my computer is acting up, I don't know what's going on. We're trying to get cords to connect this, but I want Lakeisha. Here we go. All right.
So Mary, basically what he's saying is, what is it that's going on inside of you, sis, that has kept you there all of this time without receiving what it is that you need to receive from your husband? And we can just end it with this. You said strawberry lettering, Sonny. I'm sorry. I got to hashtag that. Nina said, bye, boo. I mean, I'm saying, and I will tell you this also, that, you know, there are times where, you know, and I don't know where you are, I don't know what your faith is, if you even have it or whatever, if you have a belief system. So we know biblically, right? If you're Christian, biblically, when there is infidelity or whatever, we understand that that's grounds for divorce. We get it. Like, right, from a spiritual standpoint, biblically, you are released. But sometimes God will lead you to stay in that situation because he has a work that he wants to get done. So if you're telling me that you heard from God and he told you to sit down and don't go nowhere, I'm here for you. But if that is not the issue, then we need to dig a little bit deeper and figure out, again, like Asani said, what's going on with you. I highly recommend you reach out to Danielle Pettiford, our Enneagram specialist. Let's get your Enneagram done. Let's figure out what's going on within you, your personality, and let's help you. Let's introduce you to you.
Yeah. And do it now. It's not too late. It is not too late for you. 30 years in, there's still more life to live, and you need to be your best self. So I would imagine that 30 years of a spouse cheating on you has had a tremendous impact on your life, on your heart, on your mind, on your emotions, on your everything. You're in a broken state, I would imagine. Who could endure something for that long with no willingness to change? So please reach out to us, set up a discovery call, and let's make this happen. Gonzalo,
and just because he won't get help, doesn't mean that you can't.
Exactly.
We do sometimes have to go and do what's best for us so that we take care of ourselves all the way around, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, all of that.
Gonzalez says, we've learned to communicate properly and accountability has been established to enjoy ourselves. We've been challenging each other, make daily deposits. Then he goes on to say, neglecting to communicate with your spouse is the worst ingredient behavior to have. You need that essential ingredient. Turn your neglect to being intentional to communicate effectively. Very, very, very good. There's another book in here. There's a book that somebody recommended. I wanted to go to really quickly. And I looked it up and it looked like a pretty decent book. It was about, because we're talking about how, I don't have the problem, you do. And it's a book called I Am the Problem. The name of the book is The Problem Was Me, How to End Negative Self-Talk and Take Your Life to a New Level. And I think that's the key. Like, once you recognize that, you know what, the issue is in me. My greatest enemy is within me. And so if the enemy is within me, I gotta do some internal work in order to overcome the struggles that I'm having so that I can get to a better place. We're talking about what the unfaithful partner needs to do in terms of mindset, right? The next thing is just to be honest. See, the reality is we are lying to ourselves. We continue to engage in bad behavior and we present an image to the world that we don't even believe, right? There's this outer image that we're conveying, but the internal reality is there's a lot going on with us. And so rather than looking at your spouse and blaming your spouse, because a lot of times people who have this mentality, this is your problem, not mine, they blame their spouse. They've made their spouse the problem. You're responsible for my cheating. You're responsible for the way I show up. You're the reason why my heart has been hardened. You're the reason why I react and respond the way I do. And they are completely oblivious to who they really are. But until you take a deeper dive within you, you can never truly be honest. So authenticity, right, and self-awareness is so critically important in changing the behavior of an individual who thinks this way.
Absolutely. You have to be willing to be honest with yourself before you can begin to be honest with somebody else. So if you're lying to you, then your spouse cannot expect for you to be honest with them if you're not even being honest with yourself. And I love the fact that you brought up self-awareness, Hassani, because that's critical for us to be aware of our own shortcomings and pitfalls and just those areas of opportunity that we all have. None of us are perfect. Right. And the minute do you know what has been so freeing? I'm going to help some ladies today. Do you know what has been so freeing when you encounter a woman who is confident with her body, where she like has on none of her shapewear and she lets that belly hang out and she's like, look, I got one. That is so freeing because the other ladies in the room are like, oh my God, I got one too. And we all are able to be honest and be our best selves, our authentic selves with each other. It's so important that you become self-aware. There's a confidence that you have when you are fully aware of your strengths and your areas of opportunity, and then you can grow from that. But if you're constantly lying to yourself, you'll never grow, you'll never heal, and you'll never get to that place of reaching your ultimate potential.
Guys, you're tuning into the Couples Academy show. We're talking about the topic, this is your problem, not mine. Hopefully you got something out of this conversation. And if you're the one who has that mentality and that attitude, if you're the unfaithful partner and you're not showing empathy and compassion and you have no, I don't know, you don't have a sensitive bone in your body for what your spouse is going through, we want you to play this again and again and again and again. Let it sink in so it can begin to transform your heart and your mind so that you could show up in this relationship in a better place. They decided to stay. They decided to work through this. But are you doing your part? Right. Are you doing what's necessary, not only to help them heal, but to work on you? Because if you don't change, you're going to continue to be who you've always been, which means you will continue to do what you've always done. Change is imminent. If you want success in your relationship, you got to do something different. Listen, guys, we appreciate you tuning in. We will see you tomorrow for another episode of the Couples Academy show. Take care. All right. Deuces, I'm out.